Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Vries, and I've been over the last few days contemplating the second stage of the gift from suffering. And the last one we talked about the visitation of suffering in our life and how we can feel how unfair life appears to be, or we can have taken on certain premises and belief systems about suffering as a way of life, and that the earth plane is only about suffering, and that suffering is proving to us in some format how unworthy we are, and that suffering becomes a way of life. So I would like to dispel those myths, because if we sit quietly and we go back on the different stages of our life and the suffering that ensued at different times in our life, we will find in retrospect, in contemplation now on those periods in life, we see an incredible meaning or purpose that originated out of that period of what we perceive to be suffering. I'll give you an example. When I was 4, my mother left 4 children. I was the youngest, and she married another man. At one level, that could be judged as a dastardly deed by a mother to leave 4 children. At another level, one could contemplate, why did I come in to choose a life? And astrologically, you can actually see in my chart at age 4 a separation from my mother. So if one looks at the imprint of astrology on our energy field, you will find that the planets align at certain ages in our life. But because we personally chose to incarnate at that moment, in that place, into that family, there was a deep soul lesson we wanted to learn, we wanted to experience. So I took it over the years a step further, and I said, what was that all about? And the thing that came to me was, I would never have had the passion to be such a devoted mother, nor would I have had the impetus to stay in a marriage where my husband was crippled for 80% of the time that we were married, and have to care for him and the children and support everyone. Now, someone could look at that and say, that was a lot of suffering. No, actually, it was a period when I, number one, really understood the devotion of motherhood and what that meant. And I knew in my heart what it felt like to be without a mother. So I was more than ever focused on the role of mother, and carried that through to other people, to other young people, to other children, to animals. Just the mother became probably one of the predominant expressions of my being. So the divine unconditional love used me as a vehicle for mother. Now, somebody else may have a totally different life lesson that they had to learn from childhood. But if we look back at it, and we see it as an exquisite gift of really understanding even the gift of abandonment, so that we will not abandon, or the gift of letting go, so we experience abandonment. Always behind the facade of what appears to be is another layer at a spiritual level that says, this is why you chose this. Now, as we've spoken before, the only thing that we can control is our reaction to life. Everything else is out of our hands. So this is why many of the great seers and masters impress upon us to drop expectation of others, to give others freedom without judgment, because they have their life, they have their lessons, they have their unfoldment of being, and you have yours. So get your focus back onto yourself. And for all the circumstances that you experience, there is another level to why you experience those situations. Also, I feel that this attitude of being a victim to life, that in itself is a reaction to life. So even when we are in our worst state of loss, like in our family, we went through a time when we lost our house, and then I put everything into storage, and I couldn't keep up the payments on the storage. So 3 years later, we lost everything in storage. And I was in Europe at the time, trying to help sell an art collection. And I looked down and I had one suitcase sitting beside me, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is all I have. And then I heard a voice say, that is the silliest thing we've ever heard. Go back and contemplate that. Look what you have. You have your health. You have a beautiful relationship. You have 3 wonderful children waiting for you back home. None of you have a home. You're all living in different places, but you have each other. You have the gift of love. You have the gift of still being able to love, and you have the gift of being non-reactionary to circumstance. So this is the gift of loss, is that really, if you go to the core essence of loss, we have not lost anything that is of real value, because the thing that we carry with us when we leave this form is just simply love. All the love we have shared, all the people we have loved, all the kindness we have shown. I had an old seer say to me once, your only bank book is your spiritual bank book of love. And I thought that was such a beautiful reminder. I never forgot him telling me that. And he said, and I remember in the movie Ghost at the very end when he's leaving, and she goes, oh darling, I love you. And he says, the love is the only thing I can take with me. I get very emotional when I think of that, because it is so true, and the capacity to love can exist in any circumstance. So if you think back years ago when they had that horrific earthquake in Jamaica amongst people that already had next to nothing, and their houses all fell down in sheer rubble, and people lost 2, 3, 4 family members. Sometimes the whole family was wiped out except for one person. What did they do? They held hands, they sang to God, and they helped the ones that still had people locked in under the rubble in the trapped areas of the earthquake. And despite the fact that they could have been just sitting and grieving and crying, they banded together and they put their hearts into it, and they showed that kind of merciful love. Well, at least there's a little baby there, or at least there's a cat stuck behind there, or an old man, and they all helped each other and rejoiced together despite the loss. So this was the gift of sublime love in the face of loss. So may we remember that when we go through financial loss, physical loss, loss of our own health. I remember Andre telling me the other day, he was walking to the store and he came back and he sat beside me. I said, "What is it, son?" And he started crying and crying. And I said, "Are you sad? Did someone hurt you?" He said, "No, I just saw a man in a wheelchair with no legs, all wrapped up with a bandage, and pedaling the wheelchair with his arms and singing to his heart's content to God." And he said it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And I said, "You see, that is the example of choosing love over circumstance." Pretty beautiful, isn't it? So today, I choose love over any circumstance, whether I'm separated from someone I love dearly, or I choose the love part that I still share with that being, or the loss of my children. I focus on the love, and I continue to send them love, send them healings, converse with them. They haven't gone anywhere. They're just in another vibration. They're right here now. And let's take a look at our lives and turn it around. Take off the dark glasses. And yes, people can say I live with rose-colored glasses, but I find it to be a very alive, beneficial, loving way to be. And it's brought me a lot of joy in the face of what the world would call disaster or great loss. So I'd like to leave you with that. Please subscribe if you like this channel. But most of all, take a moment to think about your own life and the gift of love in your own life and how you can unconditionally spread that love. Everywhere you walk and talk today, you can spread the love. You can spread it through your eyes. You can spread it through your words. You can touch someone with a hug. There are so many ways, as you know, as well as I, to show love. So let's today drop the victim, leave it at the door, and look at it as an opportunity to love. Thank you so much for staying with me through this video, and remember that my greatest aspiration is to achieve angelic mercy, and I wish the same for you. God bless you.